Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Welcome once again, everybody. It's Dr. Homebrew, live from the Hop Grenade downtown Concord, which apparently there's an apocalypse party or some sort of like last-minute freak out, and everyone should attend. The place is packed. Downtown Concord is insane with people right now.
It's a party.
It's a party.
It's the farmer's market apocalypse out there.
That's, I think, what it is.
Yes.
The last chance for heirlooms.
Everyone's getting bombed on bok choy and potatoes.
I'm pretty sure Santana was playing there. I don't know. It must have been. There was no parking.
No, nothing. There's nothing going on. And anyway, here we go. We are once again together as Dr. Homebrew. We have a good show for you. Such a good show that I don't even have any notes up. It's kind of one of those shows, man.
Well, I heard I
can do it all.
There's a Russ.
There's a Russ. We have Russ on line one. We have Chris in studio, and we have some good beer. But first, before we start off, let's thank our fine sponsor, 5 Star. You can go to 5starchemicals.com and learn all about how to clean and sanitize your brewing equipment to make the best beer possible. You hear these stories. They're like the Chupacabra or the Yeti, right? All these intricate stories about how, no, you can just get away with cleaning and sanitizing at the same time.
I never sanitize with a Chupacabra. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work, right?
It makes a great scrubby, though.
That it does.
That rough little fur, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Well, could work.
You just can't do it. So for all of your cleaning and sanitizing needs, go to 5starchemicals.com. Learn all about them. Ask for them at your local homebrew shop. If they don't have them, consider getting a new homebrew shop. You never know. Excuse me. Oh,
I hear you can buy those beers, online now.
Homebrew shops?
Yeah.
You probably can.
Probably.
Yeah. What else? The problem is I don't have my notes is that I don't know what to say right now. You'd think that I would be a better broadcaster than this, everybody.
Should we just start ad-libbing?
We should. Well, yeah, that's generally what we do.
What are we going to make up?
What do we have beers today? We have what do we have to drink?
Scottish export.
We have a Scottish export from Russ, I believe, right?
80 shilling.
80 shilling, if you're into money.
Which I am.
It costs a lot more than 80 shilling now, probably. Or it's in euros or something.
I don't know what does a shilling even have value? It doesn't exist as a monetary unit anymore, does it?
Yeah, I don't know.
What's the exchange rate on defunct currency?
Some Scottish person is going to call in and set us straight because I have no freaking idea.
Right, they're going to send the fat bastard over to take us out.
I'm sure that's exactly what's going to happen. Some Scottish guys like, look, I'm not into homebrewing at all, but let me tell you something about my currency. You guys are all kinds of jacked up.
Yeah, some guy in a kilt and a golf cap's going to walk in here and take us out.
Oh Lord. Well, I think we should just jump right into the beer, right? You want to get Russ on the line? He can climb on the line and figure it all out.
Let's talk to Russ, yeah.
All right, let's do that. Let's see if I can do this. New studio. I'm still trying to figure out where everything is.
Don't touch that button.
Russ.
I'm here, sir.
All right.
That worked. Awesome.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Should we pour some beer?
Let's pour some beer.
Pour some beer.
Well, these guys are pouring beers, man. Let's talk a little homebrewing. How long you been homebrewing?
About 4 years. Started out doing extract and then got into BN and switched over to all grain about 6 months in. I hadn't looked back.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Is this is an all grain batch, I imagine, then?
Yep.
All right. And this is a Scottish 80 shilling?
Scottish 80, yeah.
Scottish 80.
I originally brewed Jamil's just based off of Justin had it on a session and freaked out about it and it sounded so good I had to try it.
Yeah.
I brewed that. I sent it to the Nationals. I got a gold with it.
Oh, wow.
So,
when was that?
Good. Last year.
Okay. Look at that.
So then, like any good homebrewer, I wanted to screw it up, so I completely changed the recipe, and that's what you guys have.
Good. Yeah, I wouldn't want the gold medal recipe. I wouldn't want that.
Thanks for not sending.
Well, actually, you don't have to listen to JP on this point. We'd be happy to get that.
That's cool, man. Well, congrats on your medal. How did you change it up? What did you do? You just completely kind of deconstructed it, or what?
Yeah, I just completely started screwing around with the malt bill, and it devolved from there.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into this thing then.
Great.
Lee, why don't you kick us off on this?
All right. So Scottish Ale, I mean, what we're kind of looking for this is a clean malty beer, drying finish, maybe a few esters. Could have a little bit of smokiness. It's optional. Should be a fairly dry finish. Very drinkable malty beer. Shouldn't be really too sweet, but definitely not in the finish. So this beer, very nice. The aroma, you get dry smelling malt, a little bit of roast, not much, a grainy base malt, a little bit of, I got kind of a red berry ester, no hops in the nose, a little bit of alcohol maybe, no diacetyl DMS. Where am I here? And possible bit of kettle caramelization. I wasn't sure on that. That all really works very well for the style. Pours, mostly a fine light tan foam. Doesn't last too long. It persists, but fades to light cover pretty quickly. It's brilliant, sort of a medium red amber color. It's very nice, very pretty beer. Malty palate in the flavor, light caramel, kettle caramel possible flavor. Little bit of roast probably in there, so not sure, but it had that little bit of sort of roasty note in it. Medium berry, red berry, cherry kind of ester, not very strong, just a touch of some hop flavor, maybe a little bit herbal hops. Supporting bitter levels, which is good. You don't want this to be the hops to get in the way of beer like this. A little bit of an alcohol flavor. Balance more to the malt, a bit of finish, slightly sweet, at least at the start. Dries out a bit towards the end. Lingering malt flavor, some esters, a little bit of alcohol. Is pretty well to style. Maybe could finish a little bit drier. As it warmed up a bit, I remember thinking maybe I was picking up just a touch of some oxidation. I wasn't sure about that, but maybe a little bit of a nutty character in there. Mouthfeels, medium creaminess, medium body, slightly sticky on the lips, a little bit of medium-low CO2, which is probably good for a British-style beer. British Isles.
Wow.
Yeah.
You insulted an entire nation.
Hey, we started. Why stop now?
I'm sure they're
already on the way.
I'm sure even the Welsh were upset about that.
That's right. Yeah, I'm seeing guys with blue painted faces out there already. Even the Welsh? You think?
Yeah, sure.
Hooligans.
Why not?
Yeah. Anyways, hey. Oh, what are we doing here? The Welsh. There is. Where am I? I've lost my spot. There is not astringent. Yeah, very to style. In general, I thought it was a good beer. It's a good presentation of flavors and aroma. Be very much to style. Nicely malt-oriented, cleanly fermented, quite drinkable. Malt and aroma flavor of the base malt is perhaps a little bit on the grainier coarse side. Not too bad, though. Perhaps a different variety of base malt or a fresher base malt grind would help, but that might be a matter of sort of what kind of malt character you're looking in here. The sweetness does dry out towards the end, but I thought it was maybe a little bit high in the beginning. Not too bad, but it could probably benefit from being just a touch drier. So maybe a better yeast pitch or a slightly lower mash temp. One of those two could usually take some care on that. Didn't really. I thought at the end maybe I was picking up a bit of a smoky flavor that seemed like wood smoke as opposed to peat, which would be the classic thing, but I wasn't really sure. It's optional anyways. Having a little bit of that there is nice, but it's not needed. A touch of age in there, a little bit of that nutty flavor. Actually, towards the end, I got what tasted kind of like a mushroom flavor, which definitely is a sign that it's showing a little bit of age. May have gotten some oxidation in there. So maybe just serve it a little fresher. Yeast esters were nice, perhaps a high for style, which might go along with a stressed yeast if we think maybe it didn't quite finish fermenting out, but not really sure. It wasn't really out of style, but it seems a little unusual to pick up that much esters in a Scottish ale, although it wasn't bad at all. In general, though, I thought it was pretty nice. I gave it a 34. It's not far from being an excellent beer, but it had just a couple issues that made me put it at sort of that good level, the very good level. So, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I agree with a lot of what Lee said there, and really pleasant malt-forward aroma. It had kind of a plum-like presentation in there, a little bit of a biscuity note underneath that. Pretty prominent malt. Tiny hint of roast and maybe the faintest whiff of some peatiness, but it's not really obvious. Kind of a low earthy hop in there. Fruity esters are fairly low. Kind of neutral, generic fruity esters, just just a clean beer. No diacetyl, no DMS or any bad stuff in there. So, and the color is really nice. It's got this rich copper color with a low beige colored head that sticks around pretty well, and fine bubbles. Now it's kind of ringing the glass, but it stuck around pretty well. In the flavor, again, just a lot of the same as in the aroma. Really rich malt. That plum-like element sticks out in the flavor too. The bitterness is low and in check as it should be. Seems to have a bit of caramelization going on. I'd like to know if you did a nice long boil on this bad boy. That's what you want to do. Sometimes you can even do a little pre-boil with the thickest part of the mash or whatever. There's different tricks you can use. Has some melanoidins going on in there. Hops in the flavor, kind of just low, perfumey, a little bit earthy. It's very, very malt balanced. It seemed to touch kind of acidic, but not in the sense of being sour. It was just a little. Yeah, there is that acid
note there. Yeah. What is that?
Well, if the pH of the beer kind of drives down as you're fermenting out, it naturally goes down as the yeasts are fermenting the beer. So some beers just get a little more acidic, and but yeah, it's not like a bug got in there and made it go wild or anything.
No, it's not soured like that. I mean, maybe just a little more calcium in the water or some water treatment would help that.
To me, it finishes semi-sweet, and that's one of the things I would like to kind of dial back a little bit. It had a little more fruitiness than I'd like in the flavor, although I didn't notice it as much in the aroma, but it was like in the flavor, it's got this big, it's kind of that plum-like, which could be from the malt or could be from fermentation temperature. Could be that if you're playing with your recipe and put a little funky malt in there, like a little bit of Special B goes a long way. If you're not going for a big raisiny or plum-like beer. Anyway, it's a medium body, medium low carbonation. It's somewhat creamy. Not too obvious on the warmth. There could be a little bit in there, but it's also not as dry as expected. Kind of this beer, you want to have that little dry edge along with the kind of roasted barley kind of cutting through at the very back edge. Kind of like how an Irish red ale has that little edge to it. The Scottish, this beers also have that kind of edge. And sometimes the sweetness can just get in the way of that. So what I would say, overall pleasant drinking beer, really tasty. Just to the style, it has most elements you want, but it's you could benefit from a little more dry finish. Keep your yeast happy a little longer. Let it ferment out a bit more. Use a more attenuative strain. You could also decrease the overall sweetness, by fermenting out more. You could use lower ale temps to reduce that fruitiness. Is what I was going to say. Maybe go low to mid 60s. Maybe you were doing that. If you weren't, I don't know. But yeah, it's could be, like I said, fermentation thing, or it could be a malt thing there. But if you're not using a little bit of roasted barley in there to help the balance, you should either bump that up or pulling the sweetness out might just bring it back out where it needs to be if it's already there. So, nice beer. I gave it a 35.
Yeah, the Scottish ales, they like a cool ferment.
Yeah.
So I mean, low 60s easily, maybe even upper 50s. It's probably where he did it.
Fan it with your kilt, just.
Please don't.
Please don't.
Shower first.
If you do, don't send it in. Yeah.
Well, Russ, why don't you, if you have a recipe in front of you, why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, you guys are spot on because I got a little too kitchen sink with this.
That'll happen.
That's always the wrong way to go. It seems like sometimes
I know.
Simple is best.
And I knew it when I was doing it, but I thought, well, if I keep it small percentages, maybe it'll just give it a little complexity. But I think it did come through that real sweetness. So it was 62% Maris Otter, 13% UK Pale, and then here's where it goes off the chart: 4% Abbey, 4% Pale Munich, 2% Crystal 20, 2% Honey Malt, 2% Pale Chocolate, and 1% Brown.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
Honey malt maybe giving it a little sweetness in there.
Yeah, and I mean, if you'd want to go with that complexity, you could just dial the mash temperature down a notch and try and get rid of some of the extra sweetness that gets added with those. But on the other hand, especially for a Scottish ale, it's probably good to be fairly simplistic about the recipe.
Yeah, I think that brown malt is kind of on the acidic side, right?
any roast malt's going to add some acidity.
So I think like the brown malt specifically, it's kind of a tart, like a tart thing to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe
like
that's
the old style porter that was made with that had that little sour edge. Not sour, but acidic.
But that tart. So maybe that. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, I get that on. I'm sorry. I get that on the finish also. So I didn't know. I mean, the pH. I didn't check it afterwards. But going in, like, mash was about 5.3, and then I think the kettle was 5.2.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't check the finished beer, so I didn't.
And what temperature did you ferment at?
It was like 64, 65.
Yeah. You go a little lower.
Cal ale.
Oh, Cal ale yeast. You didn't use a Scottish yeast, huh?
No, I went with that.
You really did blow this thing up.
The 1768.
That's probably where's all those
Scottish.
red berry cherry. Yeah, I sometimes I get a strawberry ester out of that. Although I wouldn't think I would at that low a temperature. But you never know.
Yeah,
there's a beer like there's not a lot of anywhere for that to hide behind in this beer. It's pretty straightforward stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Try it with a real Scottish yeast. I've definitely seen some good results with that. But then, of course, you're the guy who won the gold ribbon at Nationals, probably using the Cal Ale yeast, right?
Well, that's just, the strength of Jamil's recipes, followed it to the T, and it delivered.
Well, let's not discount fermentation, dude. Fermentation with a beer like this, you're probably 80% of your beer.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's beer's way more fermentation than recipe formulation. I think. I don't know. Jamil will be the first person to say that too. So, while I'm sure he appreciates the compliment, don't discredit. You did it. It's your beer. You did it.
Yeah, there's nothing that can make shine or ruin a good recipe, like a good or a botched fermentation. I mean, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, and packaging and all that kind of stuff.
And then those other things. Yeah, but this is the one we're going to harp on right now. Yeah, I mean, I would say if you try this again, try using a Scottish yeast. I mean, I don't know if you're doing 5 or 10 gallons. I haven't seen the recipe. If you're doing 10, maybe do one fermenter with the Scottish ale yeast and see how that comes out. I've done that a few times. It's got really nice results. It's wonderful
and
stuff.
How cold did you say you can go with that?
I would check what whatever your vendor says, but probably go down to 60, maybe even a touch lower. You might want to ramp up towards the end. You don't want to get too cold, or it'll just drop out on you. But stick to the low end of the scale that it says, and it should work.
Why says the 1728 will ferment between 55 to 75. It's pretty forgiving.
Yeah, so I'd maybe upper 50s, something like that.
You can start there and then ramp up a little bit at the end too.
Yeah,
but it's funny, if people are going to use the wrong yeast in something, it's always the American yeast. So you could experiment with a yeast and make an American pale ale with a Scottish yeast or something and see how that comes out. I've never seen that. That might be fun. But actually, I brewed a Russian Imperial Stout with the Scottish yeast. It was just a recipe that a buddy of mine had. That was a great recipe, and it came out really nice. I enjoyed it.
Oh, beautiful.
Had a little smokiness in there, with the roasted malts in the Imperial Stout. That was kind of cool. But
yeah, the Scottish yeast can bring that just whisper of smoke to this beer style too. It helps with that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a nice beer, but I think it sounds like you kind of anticipated what we were going to say here.
Yeah, definitely.
we can tell you know. Right. Yeah, we can tell you know what you're doing, like process wise. So. It's it's just playing with the recipe at this point and the process a little bit, dialing it in.
Why
change the yeast, and then I'm going to.
Why did you want to, mess around with that recipe in such detail?
That's a fantastic question. And I don't have an answer for it.
It has to do with the personality, doesn't it?
I think everyone at one point in their lives as a homebrewer just does that. They just go, well, you know what? I just want to see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to add more.
Yeah.
Right.
But different, because maybe you're going to be the one who unlocks the key to using 50 specialty malts.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and this was the last beer I did that on. Ever since then, like I just made a blonde this weekend. It was 2 malts. That's it.
There you go.
So
less is more sometimes. Do you have any specific questions for the guys, Russ?
No. I think everything they said is great. So I'm going to try and rebrew it and see what we can do.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you sending your beer in.
Maybe
absolutely.
Go back.
I hope you enjoy that black IPA. That was especially for you, sir.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we have 2 cans that Russ sent in.
Sweet. Thanks.
Black IPA and a barley wine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll check those out.
Nice. After party.
I'd
Yeah.
say maybe just go back to your original recipe, and if you want to change something, change one thing or something. Just
I'll try it out. Actually, I'll go back to his recipe because he has the Cal Ale on it, but I'll try it with the Scottish.
Change
Check it
these.
out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make it your own.
Perfect.
All right, Russ. Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys very much.
All right. Bye.
Man, that was a lot of recipe.
Ooh,
Yeah,
just
that was
kept
a lot of-
going and going.
A lot of malt for a simple beer.
Hear the pages fold out.
I like how he's like, and this is where it gets weird. yeah, pretty much.
He
Pretty
knew.
much got weird, dude.
Did he even say what hops he put in here?
No,
For
I guess
bitter-
we never
for
got there.
bittering or IBUs?
I think
Yeah.
because we put the brakes on his grain bill, and we're like,
Yeah.
okay, look, dude.
Whoa, yeah.
There's some weirdness going
It
on.
almost doesn't matter. They're not really perceptible. So
Yeah,
that's
the hops
pretty
are-
much what
yeah.
you want here. So
Are the big part of this, but it's a good beer. I mean, Lee and I actually privately judged this last night, and I finished the pint. It was, I mean, I just
Oh yeah.
I drank the rest of that
Definitely.
beer, and it was enjoyable to the last sip. So it's a good beer, good recipe. Well, for not for a Scottish 80 as much, but just it's like dial it in.
It's a very nice beer. It's just with the changes he made, he missed the style a bit, so he loses out some
Right.
points for that. But yeah, drinkability. Yeah,
Right.
this is killer. This is good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I thought so too, man. And again, thanks, Russ, for doing that. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get with Chris here, who has an oatmeal stout, which is my personal favorite style. And,
Is it really?
Yeah, I really do. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What did you think
You
it
haven't
was?
tried this yet.
I haven't tried it yet, no.
Okay.
I thought your favorite style was IPA.
Triple IPA.
Yeah,
Triple session IPA.
quadruple IPA.
Yeah. Quadruple session black IPAs are, I think, my second favorite.
Quadruple session Belgian black IPAs with some smoke malt,
Mash hops.
Why not, man?
some grasshoppers in the mash.
God, that's where it's going. I just see it. I don't know. Whatever. There was a big argument online on Jay Brooks's Facebook page about the use of craft in marketing, and I'm like, it's just a marketing tool now. And some dude was trying to, no, it's not. All right. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Anyway, I know more than anybody else.
It's all that
That's
the
just
guy is
what it
putting
is.
gator tips in his IPA. Yeah.
Anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll hang out with Chris and try his oatmeal stout. Back after this.
Hey, Wooly, I'm beat. Can we find a nice tree to just hang out in for a while?
You're beat. I've been swinging through this forest for 50 years, ever since we
first escaped from the circus. I know, but there's got to be more to life than exploring this creek and trying to populate the valley by copulating with loose, hairy girls.
Marquis, stop. Look.
What is that?
It looks like a man-made treehouse
With fresh food.
and craft beer.
Welcome to the Creek Monkey Tap House, boys. Grab a seat. Creek Monkeys drink free.
Awesome!
The Creek Monkey Tap House in Martinez, California takes their mission of fresh food and beer seriously. They only serve locally raised beef and chicken, as well as local sustainable produce. It's better for you and the planet, and it just tastes better. The beer and wine at Creek Monkey Tap House are chosen with the same care for the highest quality and rotate frequently to make each visit an adventure. Swing on into the Creek Monkey Tap House and enjoy a new legend of amazing food, beer, and wine. The Creek Monkey Tap House, online at creekmonkey.com.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
This is a public service announcement.
Hey, dude, I think there's... what's wrong? You don't look so good. There's something wrong with your beer. It's making everyone sick.
Don't let your beer make your loved ones ill. Proper cleaning and sanitation is the key to avoiding puke on your shoes.
But I used an all-in-one.
Cleaning and sanitizing cannot be done in a one-step process. No cleaner can sanitize, and no sanitizer can clean. The amazing chemists at 5 Star Chemicals have your solution. Clean with BBW and sanitize with Star San.
Fantastic!
Your friends and loved ones will thank you. 5 Star products are available at fine homebrew shops near you and online. Put your best beer forward with 5 Star Chemicals, your one stop for the cleanest 2-step solution.
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. Oh, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
All right, everyone, welcome back. It is Dr. Homebrew. We are joined with Chris here. Chris, let me turn your mic on for you, dude. Hang on just a second. You're in Doc's seat right now, and so even Doc can't remember to turn his mic on. So you have no. One of those. There you go. And then
Doc doesn't know how to turn a mic on.
Doc doesn't know how to do a lot of things.
I thought.
All right, Chris, give it a shot.
Is that working?
There we go.
There we go.
I'm here.
Doc's actually outside. He's right there.
Well, he'd be
We're making fun of him
here.
Yeah.
He still's not turning his mic on.
Sorry, Doc.
Yeah. Doc, Chris is taking over for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Get him in here to.
You're fired. Chris is hired.
We need a mic.
Now
tech.
he knows my face.
Yeah.
We need a mic tech in here. Get.
I
Doc.
can't hear you. There's no microphone. Sit in the chair.
It's not nice to taunt.
Kiss him real hard on the face. I don't
Please,
understand.
that would be okay.
Doc's real weird, everybody. Oh, I think he's coming in. Uh-oh. Now we poked the bear.
Don't break my chair.
Yes, sir.
Oh, break Doc's chair.
Yeah, he got all strong on Chris.
I will adjust it, though.
You should adjust it. It'll do Doc some good to adjust it. All right, Chris, what do you have for us? You have an oatmeal stout.
Yes.
Let's pour that, and then how long have you been homebrewing?
Since about 2010, about 4 years now.
Okay.
So I brew with my son and my father, so it's kind of a 3-generation thing.
Cool.
80-year-old dad who started brewing in the 70s when it first became legal.
Yeah.
Stopped for a long time and joins us on most brew days.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What does he think about the hobby? Because I'm sure when he started, it was you have some sugar and some syrup, and then
and
there
a
you
big
go.
garbage can.
Yeah,
a big garbage can.
Oh, that's good.
A can of John Bull malt extract.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what my dad used to do.
I think he just likes the beer.
Yeah.
And hanging out all day. Whenever you can hang out with your father and your son.
That's
my
pretty
son's
cool.
29. I mean, you can't beat the day.
No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
My grandpa did some home brewing. He just died this year. He was 90 years old. He used to do some home brewing back in the day. Yeah. And so when I started home brewing, in the early 2000s, he was like, "Oh yeah," he gave me some old first edition copy of the Charlie Papazian book or whatever. Cool. Well, he just collected some stuff that he found.
Yeah, the stories go around. Yeah, my dad homebrewed back before I was born. I think back in the 50s and 60s, he was doing it. Where literally it was you'd find grocery stores who carry cans of hopped malt extract for making malt beverages of unknown disposition.
Do not add yeast.
Do not add yeast to this. Do not dissolve in water. Do not carbonate after it's done.
My dad, if my grandfather, if we're going to share these multi-generational stories, which I'm sure everyone's fascinated with, in the little village in Greece where we came from, he would be the one to go in and check on everybody's wine. and he would take the readings, and if the readings were too low, if the gravity was too low, he would put raisins in it and let it soak for a certain amount of time just to get the sugar.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what my dad did to carbonate beer in bottles. You know, he didn't add priming sugars. He put a raisin or two in each bottle with some yeast, and that's enough sugar to make it carbonate.
Wow.
The common link here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's almost like, having the worm at the bottom of the tequila bottle. You get to drink it at the end.
Yeah.
The dead husk of a raisin.
Soaks up all the alcohol, those raisins, huh?
That's a good story, though, man. I'm glad that you're able to hang out with your family like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's jump into this beer. Because, as I mentioned before, it's my favorite style.
Well, you want to start then?
I'll start.
It smells like beer. It smells carbonated.
No.
Oh, it doesn't?
You can't smell carbonation.
I'm
JP.
fucking dumb, dude. I
For
don't
the
know.
37th time.
It smells like it's good. You go, Brian. You step in for me.
It has a nice, I like the rich roasty malt up front in the aroma. It has a bit of a kind of a cold coffee impression in there. It's definitely coffee-like, as it should be. It came out kind of cold, and some of these elements may come out more as it warms up. Had a hint of cocoa in there. The aroma seemed a bit sharp to me, kind of like the roast was a little sharp, but it also might be just kind of cold. But it's a very pleasant aroma. Kind of low floral hop in there. Esters are medium low, and no diacetyl or DMS in it. Just cleanly brewed. Appearance wise, it had a nice deep dark brown color. Looks clear when you shine a iPhone flashlight through it.
What about an Android flashlight?
We didn't try the Android.
Shit. And we consider ourselves professionals?
The head started out as a low tan head of fine bubbles and faded fairly quickly. It should be a little more persistent for this style, but you can't knock it too hard for that. Although the oatmeal in it would tend to help enhance that head, I think. But yeah, it's rich. It's fairly bitter in the flavor from the dark malts, and that dark malt is just right up front, and it's that roasty character. So to me, it was just a little bit one dimensional in the malt presentation, but it's a very clean ale. Definitely balanced the malt. Hop bitterness seems medium low in check. I mean, it's hard. You differentiate between the malt bitterness. I mean, you taste that roasty edge, and it's definitely there. And then I'm tasting for hop bitterness, and that comes across in a slightly different way, even though I guess bitterness is bitterness. But, the overall bitterness seems to be in check. It finished fairly dry, and had this kind of bitter roast lingering in the aftertaste for quite a while. Body was medium light, and has kind of medium low carbonation and only a slight creaminess. I'd like maybe a little bit more of that kind of creamy mouthfeel in there. It doesn't. Sometimes with the oatmeal, you should get this kind of like slightly oily kind of impression, a little bit of slickness in there. I wasn't getting a lot of that kind of thing, so I'm wondering how much oatmeal was put in it. We'll get to that, but there wasn't any warmth. It's pretty light, and it had a tiny hint of astringency, probably from the dark malts, the roast malts. I really like this stout. It's missing a little bit of the smoothness, and the balance is a little bit.
Brian, you're a professional. You shouldn't be laughing at my hijinks.
Yeah, pointing the camera at your crotch.
Hey, that never happened.
So you could enhance that creamy coffee quality.
Nor will it ever again.
Kind of maybe bumping up the oatmeal a bit in there and getting it to finish a little bit sweeter. And maybe bringing in some different malts into the mix. Maybe a little more like a middle dark caramel malt, like a C80, or a little bit of chocolate in there. Chocolate malt might help that, but overall, it's very cleanly well brewed beer, and cheers to that. I gave it a 34, and it's a pretty tasty beer. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, it's good beer. I would agree with a lot of what Brian said, although I've got a little bit of a different take on this beer. I definitely got a fair amount of coffee in the aroma and the flavor. A little bit of a light, toasty, nutty kind of oat aroma. For esters, I was picking up a moderate amount of dark raisin. It's sort of like a dark raisin bread. I got that both in the nose and the aroma.
Ooh, yeah.
A little bit of fig, some fig esters. No DMS. The diacetyl is very clean ferment. Very low roasty ashy note. I mean, just sort of a secondary thing. I barely found that. Mostly the malt seemed to be focused on sort of coffee with some cocoa for the darker malt flavors. Maybe a little bit of caramel in there too. Pretty nicely to style. A little bit of a graininess from probably from the oatmeal, sort of a malt character to it. But you might expect a little of that in this style. The oat can bring that along with it. Good clarity, not brilliant, but very good. Dark brown with some red highlights. Had a fairly fine foam, fine small bubbles. It faded slowly to a bead. Tan foam. It could. I would agree with Brian. Definitely, it could use a little bit better head retention. This style should have pretty persistent head retention. That definitely wasn't persistent. It was very pretty while it was there, though. It was a nice head. Flavor: coffee, some toastiness, some low cocoa hints. A little bit of that oaty nuttiness again. No hop flavor, no dazzle, no DMS. That whole fig raisin bread thing going again. Bitter enough just to support. And finishes slightly sweet with a lingering cocoa. Some figs, some nutty coffee flavors in the finish again. A little drier as it gets into the finish. Touch of a husky flavor again, which is probably the grainy oats, which I thought was a little out of place. It wasn't a lot of it, but other than that, I thought it was very much to style a very nice beer. Medium body, maybe medium to medium light, medium carbonation. Had a little bit of a silkiness that you get from oats. I wouldn't say a slickness, really. And I guess that's what you get. It's sort of when you use a lower amount of oats, you might get a little bit extra creamy and silkiness. So the really oily, slick character comes when you start really loading up on the oats. So my guess is this is not a big charge of oats in this beer, although I could be wrong. Very much the style, not hot or astringent. I thought it was very well balanced, very cleanly executed fermented oatmeal stout with good flavors. I would say it's definitely to the lighter, drier side of the style. Right. It's not a big, rich, sweet sort of thing. It's sort of a dry, light, sort of like just the more like a latte than a sweetened espresso sort of thing. It's nice, though. It has good coffee flavors. Yeah, those esters are very nice. It's fairly dry. Of course, the lightness might let some of the graininess from the oats come through a little more than it might otherwise. Okay. So it sort of opens the door for that to come out, which is not the best character. But it's not a big deal for this beer. A little bit and actually I like that the roast flavors weren't the really dark ashy ones. I've had a bunch of oatmeal stouts recently in a comp, but a lot of people are using fairly dark roast profile, and that tends, I think, to swamp out a lot of the oat character. It fights with it because it's really ashy and dark and bitter and stringent in character to some degree, and that just fights that oaky silkiness. So the oaty silkiness, sorry. So yeah, I mean, it's possible maybe you need to be a little more careful in the sparge to keep some of the husky grainy down, but I think really it's just all about the oats. So maybe beef up the final gravity just a touch if you want to hide that not astringency, that graininess. Otherwise, I thought it was pretty nice. I give this a 39. I thought it was a very nice beer.
Thank you.
I wonder, too, if bringing up the carbonation a little bit. Now, Lee, you said it was medium, but I kind of think it's lower than that. And if that would drive a little more flavor out, too, probably would.
It usually drives aromas. It might drive the flavors a bit, too. Yeah,
the flavors
definitely.
And that. Yeah.
I do bottle conditioning and have a tendency to stay on the low side to avoid bottle bombs.
Right.
Yeah. There's no recovery from that foam.
Right.
Have you had any bottle bombs before?
Yes, I have.
So you're gun shy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was bottled from a keg or how you did it.
Straight bottle conditioning.
Yeah.
I'm afraid what I would do with a keg sitting in my garage.
Right. Yeah, you drink it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Lower carbonation, that can work okay in a stout, though. I thought that was probably fine. Maybe it was a little lower than medium, but
I guess sometimes
amount.
the acidity, if you have too much roast in there, it could really fight.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's not a sour acidic beer. It didn't have that touch of acidity like the last beer had. So I don't know if you probably did some water treatment in here, but
a little bit of gypsum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
gypsum. Yeah. Okay.
Why don't you run through your recipe, Chris?
It's about 70% two-row, 8% oat flakes, 6% chocolate malt, 6% victory malt, 4% caramel 80, and 4% roasted barley.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the oat percent in there again?
8%, 2 pounds. There's a 10-gallon batch.
That's substantial enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it benefit from going higher on the oats?
It depends what you're after. I find the oat character here for me to be very nice. If you want to really get in the territory of being oily, slick, yeah, you might want to bump that up a bit, maybe 10-12%.
Guinness is 10%.
Again, this is flake barley.
Oh, yeah, that's
10-11% flake barley.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know
right.
if there's any hard and fast rule for famous breweries doing oatmeal stouts at this point.
No, but I'd like to use that one because it makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said it. Damn,
No, you
I
should've.
shot the boss down on his own podcast.
I'm impressed.
Chris is
Thank you.
impressed. Who are you impressed with, him or me?
All of you.
There we go. That's
boy.
good.
Thank you.
What about hopping?
Just 4 ounces of East Kent Golding at 60 minutes. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah, just one shot.
Okay. Yeah, gypsum was an interesting addition. Usually that'll actually bring the mash pH down. It would almost make it more tart.
Mm-hmm.
Usually if you want to bring the pH up, which is what most people around here need to do with dark malts in the grain, is you'd add some carbonate.
So that Jamil guy uses 9.7% flaked oats.
There you go.
What does he know?
Just saying.
What does he know? That guy doesn't know anything.
Are you sure it's not 9.65?
It might be rounded up. I don't know.
Might be.
There you go.
Do you have any questions for the guys, Chris?
No, you really covered it really well. I'm really thankful. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
All right.
That's it. I don't know what to do now.
Well,
no
let's
questions.
taste the other beer that Chris brought.
Oh, that's right.
How
He
about
brought us
that
2
idea?
beers.
We can do that. Let's do that.
So you made a barrel aged version?
Yeah, so what we did was
Why don't you tell us about this?
So what we did was we split the batch into. We made a 10-gallon batch and split it into 2 5-gallon carboys, and then the second batch we took the same base beer and added it to 2 ounces of medium toast French oak and 16 ounces of bourbon.
Wow. Okay.
And let that sit for a week.
I'm sorry, how many gallons?
5 gallons.
Wow.
Look at that head just dissipate. Look at that. It's just as you grab that glass. This one fades.
What kind of bourbon?
4
faster.
Roses.
There you go.
Yeah.
Strong bourbon.
There you go.
That was actually the most fun, was learning how to, what bourbon would be best.
Good bourbon.
Yeah, my son and I spent a lot lot of time experimenting.
Yeah, good.
How much bourbon again?
16 ounces.
Into 5 gallons?
5 gallons.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of bourbon. But see, if you get a good bourbon, like no lower quality than Maker's Mark. I've used Maker's Mark once, and it was a little much. I think you can go a little higher on the booze because it is a softer bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd still be pretty boozy, but you don't want some nasty hot stuff.
No. Oh, that
is super smooth.
It tastes
aroma,
like it tastes like bourbon.
Yeah.
It tastes like bourbon beer, which normally is a bad thing, but I really enjoy Four Roses, and this is not a bad thing.
This is damn sweet.
It's like it's seriously like you have 2 fingers of liquor, and then someone poured you 2 fingers of beer in it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, having got about 16 ounces of bourbon, the bourbon it's not that hot. It comes out pretty nicely. The thing that I think you might want to throttle back on if you do this again is the oak chips.
Right. I definitely agree with that.
The wood character is really in your face in this beer.
Right.
Resiny,
So I mean, cut it by half or 3/4.
Okay.
I mean, it's not unpleasant, but it's taken over.
It's almost too much.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But
the bourbon.
It tastes like a mixed drink.
Pleasant. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I've seen people pour booze into beer before. It's a weird thing to me, but
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can mix bourbon and stout and give it a name. Call it a Concord. It's the West Coast version of a Manhattan.
I got a Concord.
Yeah, maybe put a cherry in it or something.
Yeah, sure. A homeless cherry. Yeah, with a rock of meth just shoved right in the middle of it. Chris, are you from Concord? Where are you from?
I'm from Sonoma County.
Sonoma County.
Up in Windsor.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you came. You drove quite a ways.
Not too bad. Just about an hour.
Okay.
Someday I'll be able to walk into a bar and say, "Give me a Four Roses Concord, please."
Top shelf Concord.
Top shelf. None of that cheap shit for me.
If you asked now, you'd probably get 4 Roses mixed with grape juice.
Yes.
So in the future, you expect to pick up an accent, from what I understand.
No, that's just the guy that
Where you
I
getting-
imagine ordering that drink would sound like that.
You're like,
You'd be like that.
at some point, I hope to walk into a bar, and then you took on this weird pseudo French accent. Like,
No.
Brian's gonna one up us.
He'd be like the pretentious director guy. Like,
Excuse me. Do you have any 4 Roses Concord?
You don't? Huh. Come on, Cecil. We're out of here. I don't know who Cecil is. Let's take a break. Chris, thanks, man.
Thank you.
I really
very much.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Nice beer.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to kind of do a little recap, and then we're going to announce the winner of the Grog Tag. At least your beer will look good.
It's tough competition.
$40 gift certificate. It is tough competition. I don't even know who won. I have to talk to you talk to you folks. Anyway, it's Dr. Homebrew, everyone. Hang on. We're back after this.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small. Single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy shit!
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Are you a member of the American Homebrewers Association? Well, you should be. Members of the AHA can focus on brewing beer, and the AHA takes care of the rest. The American Homebrewers Association advocates on behalf of homebrewers like you to legalize the hobby in all 50 states and make sure that beer laws make sense. Plus, there are many great benefits that come with your AHA membership, like AHA member deals that give you awesome deals at bars, restaurants, breweries, and more. Zymergy Magazine and Zymergy for tons of articles, how-tos, easy-to-follow recipes, and news about the hobby you love, and access to the members-only content on homebrewersassociation.org. But the AHA can't do it without your support. Join today so the American Homebrewers Association can keep fighting for your homebrewing rights. Visit homebrewersassociation.org or join now from the homepage of the Brewing Network website. Relax. Don't worry. It's the American Homebrewers Association. As a brewer, you already don't settle for second best. You want great tasting beer and you want great equipment to make it with. So don't settle for the second best grain mill. You want a Monster Mill from Monster Brewing Hardware. Monster Mills are tough, come in 2 and 3 roller designs, and are made right here in the USA from superior materials for longer lasting performance. Pick the mill that's right for you at monsterbrewinghardware.com and take Bevo's advice.
Trust me, it's always better to have a bigger tool than you think you need.
Monster Mills have the best warranty in the business. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Visit monsterbrewinghardware.com now and check out all the mills and mill accessories. Don't settle for second best. Get a Monster Mill from Monster Brewing Hardware.
Have you ever dreamed of attending the World Brewing Academy? This year, thanks to Lallemand and Danstar, one lucky brewer will make that dream a reality for free. Lallemand and Danstar invite you to enter the Beer School 2015 contest. One lucky grand prize winner will receive fully paid tuition to the 2015 World Brewing Academy web-based concise course in brewing technology worth almost $4,000. From now until December 13th, 2014, every Danstar yeast packet you use is your ticket to enter. Visit danstaryeast.com for the details and to print your official entry form. There's no limit on the number of times you can enter, so get brewing with Danstar and get your entries in to the Danstar 2015 Beer School Contest. Whether you want to build your home brewing skills or build a career as a professional brewer, this course will change the way you think of beer and brewing. Enter at danstaryeast.com and get the dry yeast advantage with Danstar and Lallemand Premium Brewing Yeast, and enter to win.
Ma'am, I'll need to take your top off for this examination.
Oh, doctor.
All right, everyone, welcome back. It's Dr. Homebrew. We're here for the 2-beer roundup, and then we're going to split and drink some beers.
The 24-ounce rodeo?
24-ounce rodeo, dude.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
I don't know. 2 beers? Sorry. Too much logic.
I don't even know what logic means. What did we say about Russ's beer? How can Russ improve his beer?
Russ's beer? How could he improve? Well, a little bit too sweet, a little bit less of everything. It was the kitchen sink Scottish.
That's right, yes.
Get that kitchen sink out of your beer.
Yeah. Whoa, easy.
Yeah.
So that was the bulk of it, I think.
Yeah, some of those malts were adding a little too much of the impression of sweetness, and it might have finished at the same place as the other beer, but that honey malt and some of the caramels that he added could have just been pushing it up too much. And dial that back a little bit, and then that little roasted barley edge will come through on the back end and make it happy again.
Yeah, that, and maybe switch to a Scottish yeast. Although he got a pretty nice clean ferment out of the 01 he used, but it was a bit in the estery side.
Surprised how well that did. It's not bad. I mean, you pass it as the Scottish. Just didn't have that peaty.
It worked.
Didn't have that peaty.
And then what about Chris's oatmeal stout?
Well, he just ran away with our score sheet, so we don't even remember what we said.
True.
Our memory's that short.
I think it was pretty good, though.
It was good.
What was it? Dial back the roast a little bit.
I remember it being good.
Yeah.
I remember there was a version with booze in it.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I have no pants on.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
And you're in the back of his car. Yeah.
He's dropping you off, going, good times.
Good. Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. No, mostly I think it could have been a little bit more body on it to help cover up a little bit of the graininess from the oats. Otherwise, I thought it was killer. I wouldn't change much.
It was pretty sweet. I would have added a little bit more middle malt, kind of a little more chocolatey notes in there would have been nice for me, and a little more creaminess would have given it that a little more kind of coffee and cream impression. And I'm not saying, and I think Lee was probably poking light fun at me for saying it should be oily, it should have, I wasn't saying it should just be an oil bomb. I'm just saying it should have, that mouthfeel like. There's that indescribable mouthfeel in an oatmeal stout you get when you just drink. It's like, there's that oatmeal. Yeah, it's just like, just the way it floats off your tongue a little bit. It's just a different impression than a dry stout.
Yeah, this was definitely a lighter example of the style. I think it was balanced very well for all that. It was very nicely cocoa coffee forward sort of flavor profile, not too bitter, which is what a lot of people do, and definitely not too ashy, dark roasty, which is the other thing a lot of people do. Yeah, he balanced out very nice. He did a good job.
Chris knew what he was doing, and he keeps it going through the generations. That's the awesome thing.
Tri-generational brewing setup here.
Son, someday I'm going to teach you how to brew.
One day all this will be yours. What, the curtains?
All that crap in your garage, Dad? What?
No, not the curtains.
Great
beer. Well, so that makes the winner of the Grog Tag, at least your beer will look good.
Yeah.
$40 gift certificate to grogtag.com.
Buy a nose.
Russ.
Yes.
And again, of course, it's not that this was the world's worst beer in the entire universe. Russ, don't get us that. Don't get us wrong.
It was a technical win.
Yeah, it was a TKO, dude. Don't worry about it.
Penalty shots. Yeah.
Shots?
Or penalty kicks? What do they call it?
What do they call it?
Penalty shots? That's what they do after hours here.
Yeah. Brian had that to booze, and he's just like, I'm ready for shots now, dude. I'm going to go to Vinny's, going to have some shots. It'll be great.
Stout with a little bourbon, and it's onto the whiskey bottle.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Why not?
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here. What do you think?
Yeah.
I think it's about time.
Go.
Where's
Can we
my
actually
clothes?
leave now?
I think we can.
Okay. Bye.
Let me make sure I got it right. Here we go. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everyone in the chat room for hanging out. That was cool. Thanks to my co-hosts, Brian and Lee. You guys did a stellar job, as always. For those of you listening live, we'll be back on in about half an hour. And for those of you listening on the podcast, you can just go back and listen to any old show you want, dude. It doesn't even matter. You don't have to wait for us. Thank you to our show sponsor, 5 Star. You can get everything you need to sanitize and clean your brewing equipment and make kick-ass beer at 5starchemicals.com. Thanks to Grog Tag for the Grog Tag. At least your beer will look good. $40 gift certificate. And
I want to thank the people out here in the Hop Grenade for not staring at us too much. Like, who are these guys?
Yeah, it's that fishbowl effect. I think it's wearing off. Yeah, it'll be fine. They're wrapped up in their own Concordian conversation. That sounds like a jazz album. That should be a Dave Brubeck jazz album if he ever has a re-release, because he's from Concord, you know.
He was probably playing today. I don't know.
I think he's dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
His kids are still around playing.
His kids.
Yeah. His kids is on my list. All right, everyone. Until next time, it's Dr. Homebrew. See ya.